Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Meckles. We're following some breaking news out of Aurora tonight. Somebody shot into a car with kids in the back seat. Police say this started on Airport Boulevard near Colfax just before 7:30 tonight. APD says a suspect pulled up alongside this car, fired shots into the vehicle. There were 3 children in the back seat. This is important to say. They were not hurt, thankfully. Now, the man driving the car was able to get a few miles away to Alameda and Chambers and flag down some help. An adult man and an adult woman in the front seat were shot. You're taking a live look at that scene right now. Both of those adult victims are expected to be okay, but they went to the hospital with gunshot wounds. The kids also went to the hospital, according to police, just as a precaution. Aurora police tells us that at this point, nobody has been arrested, and they are working to gather information about a suspect. The ingredients were all there today for high fire danger, high temps, low humidity, and just enough wind to make us nervous. Tonight, crews in Douglas County are fighting a wildfire in a remote area right on the Dougco-Teller County line near Highway 67 and Rainbow Falls. This one started just before 6 o'clock near the Turkey Track shooting area north of Woodland Park. Officials say it's burned so far about 130 acres. It has forced nearby campers to evacuate, but at this hour, there are no buildings under a threat. Crews are getting some help from a helicopter tonight. The Douglas County Sheriff's Office is asking the public to avoid that area. Crews with Aurora Fire Rescue, they had to contain a small wildfire just last night at Side Creek Park. Aurora Fire Rescue says they still don't know what exactly caused this one yesterday. They did find some fireworks nearby, though. Crews say dry air, warm temps, and cold and wind could all have made that fire so much worse if it had happened today. Thankfully, it did not. Aurora Fire had extra wildland crews on standby today, though, just in case.
We don't know exactly how this started, but it was more than likely started by a person, and that means that it probably could have been prevented. So that's why it's really important on a day like today to be extra cautious with anything that has heat, open flame, or sparks near the open space.
Good news is the majority of red flag warnings have since been lifted and cooler temperatures are expected tomorrow. Let's bring in our Corey Reppenhagen. The red flag warning that was for that area with that fire down in Dougco, that one was supposed to go through 9 o'clock. Where's that stand now?
Yeah, so all the fire weather warnings for today have now expired, but they've just added a round of fire weather warnings in for tomorrow. And this starts at 9 a.m. tomorrow and goes all through the day. And it's down here to the south. The Front Range is no longer included in this, but we have more fire weather warnings in the month of April than any other month here in Colorado. So we're always on alert. A couple of those ingredients you were talking about, the heat and humidity, were very off the charts today. Look at all these records that were broken today. 9 records were tied or broken, including Denver, Boulder, and Fort Collins here. 96 degrees in Lamar broke a record out there. So extreme heat, that was the theme for today. Fortunately, if the winds were any stronger, any of those fire starts that we did see today would have been much more difficult to fight. Right now, we're still pretty comfortable here in the 70s at this point in the night here in Denver. So very comfortable night, and we're going to cool down just a little bit tomorrow. This is the forecast for tomorrow. Some sunshine early on, but the temperatures only making it up to about 70 degrees tomorrow. I'll have more on that forecast and what lies ahead coming up in the forecast.
All right, Corey, thank you. Crews in Weld County have started their cleanup operations now, almost a week after a blowout at a Chevron oil well forced evacuations in that area. The state says the well's pressure barriers failed on Sunday, causing that to shoot out water, oil, and gas into the sky and go on for days. It is now finally sealed off. Crews are cleaning up the affected areas, which include the Gailton Elementary School. The school's principal says classes are expected to resume on Monday if the test samples come back okay. Still not clear, though, when the dozen families who were evacuated from that area can return home. Businesses along East Colfax have been really struggling for months now due to an ongoing construction project in that area. Tonight, a community group in Denver organized a bar crawl to try to boost up the foot traffic and give a little extra business to that neighborhood. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez shares more on their efforts.
It can be hard to bar crawl through a construction zone. But this group,
how are you,
is moving with purpose.
There has been a change.
A change that has lowered the amount of customers for these East Colfax businesses.
Driving around has gotten harder.
A difficult situation brought on by Denver's Bus Rapid Transit Project Project leaders say the BRT will continue to tear up parts of East Colfax until 2027, eventually adding a center bus lane that connects downtown to Aurora.
The psychological fact that it is harder to find a parking spot has made a lot of businesses concerned about their future.
Lauren Hansen is part of the Denver Streets Partnership. It's the community group that wants this event to help boost business.
The bar crawl that we're doing is really to address that concern.
All right, Angel.
A concern that inspired people like Abe Call to come out.
I've been coming to it for years. My friends have come to it for years. You want to make sure they stick around. And so events like these could help with that.
Giving these businesses a chance to see better days ahead.
The bus rapid transit is really going to be something that I think brings people out even more so than increased car traffic.
Creating a culture on East Colfax that will continue to grow
Orange, perfect.
for years to come.
These bars shouldn't just be something that they get a surge of business today, but they should be getting a surge of business and a culture of people showing up throughout the construction, after the construction, and when the BRT ultimately goes in.
That was Colton Chavez reporting. Now, this was the group's first bar crawl for East Colfax. Organizers said they had about 100 people register for it. They'd like to do more of these events in the future. Heads up if you ride RTD's L line through 5 Points in the downtown area. The agency is going to be suspending service on Monday to make track circuit repairs. These repairs are happening along the Welton corridor between 20th and Welton and 30th and Downing. RTD says the D and the H lines will still be running into the downtown loop. If you need an alternative, RTD says you can use bus route 43. Service for the L line should be back to normal on Tuesday. Denver city leaders are now considering a new plan that would force landlords to find their renters a temporary place to stay if for some reason their rental units become unsafe to live in. The bill, introduced this week, comes after a series of high-profile housing failures in Denver, like a burst pipe at the Welton Apartments last winter, which left tenants without water for several weeks, and the recently condemned William Penn Apartments due to infestations and lack of heat. Right now, the city can declare a building uninhabitable, but it can't require the landlord to house those displaced tenants elsewhere.
The goal is to work in partnership with landlords so that so that buildings aren't deteriorating and we aren't seeing a swath of folks who are displaced overnight.
Councilmember Chantel Lewis says council will take some feedback from both property owners and tenants before they take the bill back to the full committee. If approved, it could head to a full vote before city council in the coming weeks. Help is on the way in Adams County for local groups who are working to tackle the opioid crisis. They could soon see a major boost in funding. Right now, the county's Opioid Abatement Council is reviewing some grant applications from organizations all across the area. That money comes from a nationwide opioid settlement involving big-name pharmaceutical companies. Last year, about $3.8 million was awarded to 13 different groups. This year, even more is on the table, more than $7 million. Thanks to funds rolling over from previous years. These grants support all kinds of work, from addiction treatment, recovery housing, overdose prevention, and ongoing education efforts.